Thank you for joining me still on TMI Tuesday. I'm Philip Omo-Gyupong, and I have the President of Association for Formidable Education and Development, AFED, and he is also Executive Director of Africa Emancipation Movement, Osagie Godsent Erunse. Thanks for joining me, Osagie.
Good morning, Phil. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for having me.
Well, the president's broadcast was really taking some toll of reactions from the citizenry. What do you take in respect of the extension of the lockdown in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun by 14 days?
Let me begin by saying that, you see, when you talk about lockdown, people don't really mind if you ask them to stay at home. Nigeria averagely is a very busy terrain. You know, everybody moves out every day to try to make ends meet. So when you say stay at home, people see it as an opportunity to rest. Okay?
Just as you've grown fatter.
Yes, thank you.
Because of the risks.
They did that as it may. The main issues are the fundamentals.
Okay.
You know, why the stay at home order may not be much of a big deal. But when you say stay at home or you preach stay at home, there are other questions that go out in the hearts of people. And one of such questions is the survivor question. You know, there's no big deal about staying at home if I know I have $1 billion in my account that I can just easily use and go for shopping, get back home, and I can have my day.
And if you the way I want, if you have the money, what about if you don't have what to shop?
But this is the point. Having the money, first of all, gives you a level of confidence.
Of course, yes.
Because you know that no matter where that particular goods is, you can always get it with money. Remember money power. Let's not go there. But the point is survivor. So when you preach stay at home, because that's the message fundamentally we are getting from everywhere now, whether it's an order of a lockdown or it's an advice, survivor. People are thinking for survivor. Then again, stay at home is not going to stop the bills. Okay? Landlords are not going to tell you that they will not ask you for rentage at the end of the month because you are staying at home. All right? Then again, we also have to look at health hazards. Okay, because people have to say you're going to also have to foot your medical bills, not necessarily COVID-19 now, coronavirus. You know, so there are a lot of underlying issues. How do I survive even though I have to stay at home? Now, for me, these are part of the critical issues that the speech of Mr. President refused to address. You know, it's good to be thanking Nigerians and thanking the church and the monks for shutting down, but basically what Nigerians had expected to see are things like, for example, because there's difference between making a nice speech and the realities on ground. Okay, what is the full-blown approach to our survivor? Now, that has to do with palliative measures. I know that a lot of people have said a whole lot about this. But part of the reason why I'm becoming so concerned about this is because every day we keep on hearing the federal government saying, oh, we are successful in distributing essentials to Nigerians. You know, the Minister of Information was saying the other day that no Nigerians is hungry, that they have distributed about 100 billion naira. You know, that even in this so-called state where it is said that this money has been distributed, we all have contact in those states. There are a lot of people that will tell you that they are here to receive any money. And even in some cases, when you have food items being distributed, it is again put in the hands of the politicians. And in this nation, we do not trust the credibility of our leaders, the politicians.
Okay, but in the overall, some have argued that, well, this is not a point where we do blame game, in as much as we have a pandemic that we're playing with and that we need to really tackle in our hands. And if you look at the efforts so far, the achievements as reports show over the lockdown in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun, they've had about 13% success in contact tracing over the lockdown. Don't you think that is a lot of
let me quickly say that if there are no practical approach, what I am concerned about is methods, approach, and processes. Otherwise, after the expiration of another 2 weeks, the president will extend it again. Now look at other countries that have observed lockdown. But look at the proactive measures. I'm going somewhere. Currently, let me give you some facts. Currently, we have a huge problem with testing kits. Okay? Now let's look at the practicality on ground. I'm going somewhere. Within the next 2 weeks, what are the measures on ground, where are we supposed to arrive at after 2 weeks?
Okay.
Now, let me quickly say this.
Let me quickly also feed you with this information where the president did say yesterday that they're going to be expanding the social register in 2 weeks from 2.6 million households to 3.6 in the bracket.
Phil, even the ones we had before, there is already problem with social welfare, as in people complaining that these things are not really getting to them. Okay, but I was going to draw your attention to something else, and that is to say, number one, we have to realize that the coronavirus pandemic is not only in Lagos, Ogun, or Abuja. There are a lot of other cases in other states. For me, I think there is so much attention on Abuja and Lagos. There are a lot of other cases in other states. Let me tell you the reason why you see in the international scene that countries like America and Italy are recording so much cases. It may not necessarily be because we have less cases in Nigeria. But the difference is that they have more testing kits to be able to ascertain the database of those that are really infected with this virus. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that we have a problem at hand. There's no question about that. But I always like to say that this problem is not mystical. There are different areas through which we can track the pandemic. And let me quickly say this. Why I'm not totally against the lockdown. But the lockdown is not essentially the solution to the pandemic. First of all, what is the current database of those that have been infected? Because if you do not track that on time, there is every possibility that more people will be infected.
Is that not exactly why the lockdown is critical? Why it becomes important?
Lockdown,
because you can, like the achievement made so far in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun.
Okay.
During the lockdown, they've been able to do contact tracing, and they've had 13% success.
Okay.
Now, there's this
Also, this argument that, well, the virus moves, so the best way to tackle it is to stop the virus from moving, which is from person to person.
Yes. Let me, like I earlier said, when you bring about a lockdown, there are three things in question. I've said that before. Number one is survivor. Then number two is tracking the cases. Now, like I said before, there's so much attention, there's so much success in Abuja, Lagos. But compared to other states, part of my concern is that there is no holistic carried along of different states in this issue. Now, let me give you an example. For some few days now, Edo State have been out of testing kits. Now, while we are expecting testing kits to come from other countries or what have you,
For some few days,
there is also
out of testing.
Yes, they have not been testing kits, but quite of recent.
I don't think we have
Let me.
statistics.
Yes, but some of us are in the
If
public
you say that we don't have adequate number
of testing kits.
that's realistic.
Phil,
For you to say that
Phil,
there is none at
Phil,
all,
let me give you.
that's bogus.
Let me give you the analysis. You know, there have been this recommendation by some of the health personnel to say we have locally made testing kits. I'm telling you those state situation.
Okay.
You know, I have my own first-hand information. Okay, there have been this confirmation that the locally made testing kits from Onitsha, can also give us the same results that the foreign testing kits are giving us. But for some reasons, some people felt that no, that was not going to pass. And that was what led to, when I said so for some few days, there was really no testing kits.
because we're looking at the WHO standard.
Fine, we're looking at WHO standard, but even I've also said they don't have a problem with that locally made testing kits. The most important thing we are concerned about is getting the results. WHO standard, the testing kits are inadequate, they are not coming. Now, you know the danger of that. This is the danger. The danger is by every minute and every second, the virus is spreading. Because even if you are preaching social distances, it's not realistic, you are aware. Even when the government say, hey, leave the market and go somewhere else, you go and see what is happening in the news site. In fact, the situation is even worse off than what we were.
Okay, does that mean
Now,
total lockdown imminent?
What I'm trying to say in essence is that the total lockdown is not really the basic solution to containing the virus. And like I said before, however, it is what we do, how we maximize the period of the lockdown. That is my emphasis. Now, solving any problem is an issue of method and approach. So if you have an approach that is not giving you, now you need to realize that with the danger posed by the pandemic, it calls for more proactive measures. Otherwise, there is going to be lockdown in this country for another 3 months, and you'll be shocked.
Okay, when you say proactive measures, because we are still looking at the solution.
One of them is
Now,
this.
we have testing laboratories to a number 11, which is quite laudable, looking at where we are coming from.
Compared to our population?
Yes, like what the president said. But again, testing kits, which is also a global challenge. Even in developed polities, they also have that as a challenge. But let's look at those in the front line, like the health workers, and the availability of the PPE, the personal protective equipment. What do you have to say?
I was actually going to come there, but let me just land on this. If there are ways we can get more testing kits locally that can give us the same results that foreign testing kits are giving us, why don't we encourage those success to mass produce testing kits? Because that is one of the ways to track down this spread of this virus. We need to know what is our actual data. Otherwise, it is spreading ignorantly. The more we delay, the more the spread. Then secondly, let me come to the issue of motivation of the health workers involved. I am particularly interested in this because this is another stakeholders in containing the spread that for me have not been well given attention to. Now let me give you
the president broadcast yesterday. He
gave promises in days to come.
In coming weeks, there will be it will be announced what they have in motivating the
you seem to be carried away. You seem to be carried away by broadcast. You seem to be carried away by rhetorics. We are used to these things. Look at the last broadcast by Mr. President. Some of these things are still being repeated. Just yesterday, I was listening to the Commonwealth President and the Medical Association that said doctors are being paid about 5,000 monthly to manage the situation. One of our med lab scientists, even in Edo, let me give you two case scenario. Number one, these are the people that are they are like the saviors we see today. They are the ones going out to actually help us to know these are the situations and trying to treat these patients, isolate those that are found positive. Now, up to now, there is no motivation. Okay, let me tell you that right from the beginning of this pandemic to date, the main lab scientists have not even been giving incentives. I don't know about medical doctors, but the main lab scientists in Edo State have not been giving incentives. And most of the times, they leave the house hungry and go back hungry. And you know what they are told is your work, is part of your work jurisdiction. Then they spend over time in doing this job. Now, when people are not motivated, what do you expect? Haphazard. Like, I had the privilege to discuss with the med lab scientists in Edo State that said that when my team go out, we try to just do the work anyhow, quick. Because we are concerned about ourselves. Now, don't forget that it was just 2 weeks ago that the Edo State med lab scientists, some other people involved were trained. Now, before the training, they were already exposed to this hazard because they didn't have the enough technical know-how on how to protect themselves from the pandemic. Now, one of the questions I'm asking the government is that these med lab scientists be tested in the first instance? Have they be tested to be sure that they are not also in a bit of trying to test those that are positive, they are not spreading it? These are the underlying issues. That's the reason why I said there are another very critical factors. Just a few weeks ago, we heard the NMA saying anybody can work anywhere. That's an indirect statement. Letting you know that currently I started hearing that countries like America have opened their website, France and what have you. Letting you know that if they have an opportunity to migrate, they will leave. You cannot use people and they are under-motivated. And yet, we keep on hearing every day that billions of naira have been allotted for this project. So what are the money being spent on exactly? Okay. It's good to build isolation center, but it will take humans, people with the technical know-how, the expert, to manage these isolation centers.
Okay, let's take our minds to the Edo State government and the issues arising, like the compliance level, for instance, in Edo State, in terms of wearing face masks outside your home. Is posing a huge challenge to the state government, and recently the state government set up a mobile courts in order to checkmate these offenders in this direction. Do you see that as a welcome development?
Let me begin by saying that part of the things we do in our state to state today is we just copy. I'm aware some other states they are also toning the same line, or they have already toned the same line. But for me, it is not the best approach. See, let me say this to you. I don't know how the judiciary worked. I was hoping maybe we'll have a lawyer today.
Okay, but before you say that, can you just take a look at the compliance level? Because we've been taking out reports on the television, on ITV news, and you hear reports of people not even conversant with what is on the ground.
Okay, can I?
And you still see, in spite of the rules on social distancing, you still see people being congested.
Okay.
Do you think that's a problem that demands a handle from the government to tackle?
Phil, if you are not a field worker, you will not appreciate the level of poverty in our society. You will not appreciate the report by Transparency International when they say Nigeria is home to the poorest people in the world. You won't appreciate that. Because for you, 500 naira can be thrown away. Let me give you a case scenario. Just a few days ago, a family walked up to my house and said, we want to see you. Because I'm a public worker, I'm with the people. And I was like, okay, maybe it's one of those counseling or whatever, what have you. And they came home, guess what? A man, his wife, and his children were on their knees begging for 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira. Now, how much is a face mask?
I think we are.
Then how much is a hand sanitizer? No, babe, look at what I'm saying.
You just said just now that
Look at it can be thrown away for you.
You'll be surprised I don't have
No, if you are in that same shoe, then you will be questioning why the government will wake up and say from today mobile cut. You see, I want to trace Edo State history because before this pandemic, there was already a plan to mass protest against the unnecessary setting up of mobile court in Edo State. Now, who are you going to arrest? And which correction center are you taking them to? Because obviously, if you give them an option of fine, they can't pay the fine. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the money. All right, now, what I'm saying is, before, I also want to talk to, it takes money to comply to the rules. No, sanitizer is free of charge. Now, listen, let me come home. I also want to talk to the judiciary, because I don't know, maybe, I don't know if you have a provision in the law where the governor just come or any politicians come, even at local government level, and say, mobile court, and they just say, yeah, here we go. They should be able to ask this government, what role have you played? Now, what I expect, let me tell you, what measures have you put in place? Like, for example,
like we have the reports where the state government is using the local industry, to mass produce nose masks.
yes,
And this will be distributed.
like I said, I know you are.
So isn't this the right step?
I know you are in the media, so right up seems to be like your food. But let's look at the reality in the streets. The state governor has said he has mandated. Where is the face masks? Because we expect the face, before you come up with a mobile court, there would have been free circulation of face masks. I'm not even going with the reduction. There was a time that there were free distribution of mosquito nets. We were all in this state. I was shocked that it was so well distributed that almost every houses got a mosquito net for free. It was not sold. So what will it take the government to ensure that there is free distribution of face masks? Before you just go ahead and say, let there be mobile court. Then what about the hand sanitizers? Now, we are aware that the ones, some time ago I saw in the news that they gave it to different local government chairmen. Some of the hand sanitizers that were made, I think that was from Igbo Special Hospital, if I'm correct. Now, how you chance we even let it get to, apart from some few spirited individuals that are just doing that at their own level. So the question I'm asking is, before you go ahead and say, hey, let there be mobile court, you must comply. What are the measures that you have put in place? How credible are they? How sustaining are they? As at now, where are the food distribution centers in Edo State? As at now, what is the government doing to ensure that ordinary people, not politicians or big men, can be tested to know their status? Not just by the recommendation from NCDC or from WHO. Because what we are aware of is the other have to come for them to say, okay, trace this person, test this person, because they are the ones that pay for the testing. So what is the state government doing to ensure that they foot some of these bills to say, let as many persons as possible be tested? Because like I said, the beginning of this fight begins with the testing. And that's the reason why I want to call on the state government to immediately approve the local test kits. Because we need to know, we need to look at having accurate data before we can be thinking of arresting the situation. Otherwise, by the delay is deadly. By the minute and by the second, it's spreading.
Okay.
So that's the reason why the mobile court doesn't make sense to me. Because you are going to inflict more pains and injury on the people that are already suffering and begging for survival.
Okay, let's look at the markets, for instance, where they were told to move to nearest public schools so that there can be enough adequate fumigation of the marketplaces. What's your thoughts in that line?
And that's a rhetorical question. I'm sure you know my thoughts. You know why I said so? Just yesterday, I took a drive round. I was in a market in a secondary school. I was also in Edupolo. It's funny. Because the gospel on social distancing is even now more compounded. Now, that is going to bring me to something very sensitive, Phil. Now, this whole issue about coronavirus is not a spiritual thing. It's not far-fetched. What I mean is, it's not something that we cannot really control when we have leaders that have the sincerity to arrest the situation. And when people stop taking advices from people that may not necessarily be in the field,
okay,
in the name of being politicians. Let me bring out these 2 points. It's very important. Number one, there is a fumigation approach. Okay, what has the state government done to ensure that those chemicals for fumigation are subsidized, so that the ordinary citizen can have access to it? Now, I'm currently aware that they have fumigated all their offices, their houses, even their cars. Some of them are bathing with the chemicals. But what about the poor Edolites? So what is the government doing to ensure that there is subsidy for the chemicals? Now, these are the issues we should begin to
ask ourselves, because that's the reason why I said it's about the approach. Otherwise, after the next 2 weeks,
another 2 weeks. There are people surviving or they are dying. They are dying. We saw what the actor, a certain actor, Mike, wrote to the vice president. I said, I'm out of cash.
Okay. Let's look at the role of the Chinese expats that presently are in isolation, hoping that after the requirement days, they will swing into action. Do you see this as a right thing to do by the Nigerian government?
Sorry, before I dabble into that, I want to quickly call on the state government to immediately fumigate these people markets and send them back to their markets. I don't know why it's taking too long, because fumigation is not supposed, when they wanted to do their own fumigation, it didn't take more than 24 hours, they were done. So they should quickly sanitize the market, otherwise we'll have a worst case scenario in Edo State. Then, to the Chinese issue, anyway, I think that is an issue between the government and the NNA. There have been all kind of for and against. Just a few days ago, the senators, PDP and APC, disagree over the issues. But what I've said is this: do they really have the solution to our problem? If the federal government think, that is one of the things I was also expecting the president's speech to defend. Because the coming of the Chinese doctors is one of the things that have raised a lot of social
although reports
discourse.
have it that they are experts, not necessarily doctors.
That's where, you see, when we make speech in Africa, we don't address the practicality of the issues. We seem to be saying what people want to hear. Because if I am the president of this country, I would like to clear the air and defend my case and say, this is the reason why I brought the Chinese doctors. And this is their mandate. This is their goal. Within the next 2 weeks, this is what they should have achieved. But the speech lack practicalities. We are not interested in thanking us for complying or encouraging us to stay at home to bear the suffering.
Okay, but in the overall, you seem not to. In the overall, you seem not to
step.
give. You seem not to trust the government of the day.
Because of course, Phil, I've said that several times. For me, I have my reservations about this government. They are not proactive enough, and it seems not to have people that have enough intelligence to drive issues in this country.
What should be the expectations as we round off
what I am
in this
saying
direction in order to arrive at a template that will be beneficial to all?
Nigeria should be told what the Chinese doctors are here for. The goal should be clearly defined. If they cannot meet up to it, they cannot caution the effect, then they have no business being here. And the government should also be able to respect the position of the NNA, because they were not really doing poorly before these guys came. Although I'm not against, if we think there's a nation that can help us out, for me, I'm not against that. So I'm calling on the government, both at the federal level and the state level, to be more proactive, to seek more advice from experts than co-politicians.
Okay.
To go to the field and see what your people are going through. We are claiming that every Nigerians are receiving 20,000 naira. I'm yet to see a Nigerian that have testified that, yes, I've received 20,000 naira. So it's not enough to write these things in papers and try to impress the international community. What is the situation at home?
Let's look at a huge percentage of Nigerians also from the rural areas in the states and other states. Is it not mind-boggling that some still treat this issue with levity? What do you have to say?
You know, Phil, there's something you don't know about poverty. When a man is hungry, he stops being afraid of death. Poverty is a psychological thing. Why do you think people can boggle into banks when they know that they are police officers and those banks have alarms that can signal the next police station? Why do you think people are involved in kidnapping? Damning the consequences. you need to understand the psychological effect of poverty. You need to understand what it means for someone not to have been able to provide for his family for 2 days, and he has a baby that is catering for. Now that baby does not know whether there is a pandemic. The only thing the baby wants to understand is I need my baby food and I need to eat. You need to understand a scenario where if that man of the house decides to say, let me go and beg, nobody is ready to part with his 50 naira, because nobody knows what is ahead of us. So what's the point? The point is poverty can make people ignore death sentence. There's too much poverty even in our rural areas. See, I just met with someone that just came from one of those rural areas, and I asked the woman, how are you people taking this issue? She said anytime they discuss it in the villages, they just laugh and say it's town sickness. Those town sickness.
It's not
It's
in the
not.
village.
Said it's town sickness. Because for them it's laughable. We are aware that our culture makes us to integrate, to socialize with one another. It's difficult to separate the average African from one another. Then for you to tell me to do that, you need to be able to assure me that you can sustain me. So I want to call on the federal government and the state government to immediately establish food distribution centers. The first thing is that you can't tell people to stay inside and die. They won't. They will default the order and come out. If you say you want to arrest them or ask them to pay fine with mobile courts, then you are not thinking. Because they can't pay your fine.
Okay,
and where are you going to send them to?
But again, the big question here is, can the resources available to the Nigerian government be able to take care of the vulnerables in huge numbers that we have in Nigeria?
Philip, I am one of the few that have always said that Nigeria does not have a money problem. Nigeria have a credibility and integrity problem. I've always opined, I've always stand by this. We don't have a money problem. See, let me say this, sir. One Nigeria can feed the whole of Nigerians for 1 month. I'm talking about current global, you need to know the global rating of Nigerians, investment of Nigerians in Dubai and other parts of the world. You'll be shocked. One Nigerian can feed the whole of Nigerians for 1 month, no shaking. Why did the global community refuse to cancel quite a number of our debts? Because they said one Nigerian can pay your debt. So I don't think we have a money problem. The other time, the minister came out, I think Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, and said they have not received this donation. But the president in his speech acknowledged that people have donated and thanked those that have donated. Now, people have donated money. The people that have been saddled with the responsibility to manage us in this pandemic period, which is the medical personnel, are not even motivated. Okay? Now, secondly, there are not enough test kits. When we have the opportunity to locally produce enough test kits, so we can fast track the situation. Thirdly, people are hungry. And the federal government keep on telling us they lie. People are not hungry. But people are hungry. If you don't have a database on how to reach your people, you have banks. People have bank accounts. You say money have been distributed, but a lot of people are saying they have not received anything. Apart from the few spirited individuals that have gone back to their locality. And one of the things I want to advise is, if you are thinking of a way to reach to the commoners, use the Odion way of the communities, not politicians. That is my candid advice. Use the Odion ways, their locality, the traditional head, not the politicians, because they're going to compound the issue.
Thank you so much for taking our time to be part of today's TMI. Big thanks to you. I've been having a chat with Osage Godsend Erunse, who is an educationist, president of Association for Formidable Education and Development Affairs, and is also an executive director of African Emancipation Movement. Well, this will we call it a wrap on today's discussion on TMI. But don't forget, it's still This Morning on ITV. Stay with me. Don't you go away.